I stepped into the bedroom and immediately knocked out the man who had been sleeping with my cheating wife. I tied them both up, pulled out a syringe, and said, "I'm going to inject you with a powerful poison. You'll have 30 minutes to tell me your story in detail. If you do, maybe I'll give you the antidote." Their faces turn pale with fear as I turn on the camera. People say you never forget the moment your world falls apart. The details sear themselves into your memory. The sounds, the smells, the way the air feels against your skin. For me, it was a scent of lavender candles and the faint sound of soft jazz drifting down the hallway. Everything seemed normal, but deep down, I already knew something was off. I had just come home after an 18-hour shift at the hospital. As an emergency doctor, my life was a cycle of blood, adrenaline, and exhaustion. Saving lives, fixing broken people, and coming home late to a wife who always said she understood. We've been married for 7 years, and until recently, I thought we were happy. Sure, things had been tense lately, less talk, more excuses. Her phone always face down on the table, but I blamed it on my job, my schedule, the exhaustion. I thought we were just going through a rough patch. Turns out I was the only one fighting for us. I walked up the stairs, my footsteps heavy, my body aching from the long shift. That's when I heard it. A soft breath, brief laughter. Her laugh, but not the one she used with me. This one was different, playful. Then came the low murmur of a man's voice. I froze. My brain refused to process it. It had to be the TV. It had to be her on the phone with a friend. It had to be anything but what I thought it was. But deep down, I already knew. I took a slow breath, my pulse pounding in my ears. Without another thought, I pushed the door open. The first thing I noticed was skin, bare skin, twisted sheets, tangled limbs. The second thing I noticed was her eyes, wide and frozen in panic. She gasped, scrambling to cover herself. The man beside her, a stranger in my bed, flinched, his face half buried in the pillows. And me, I just stood there completely numb. Time stretched. I saw every detail, the candles she'd lit for him, the wine glasses on my nightstand, the bed sheets I bought now wrapped around another man. I should have spoken, I should have yelled, but all I could do was stare, the pieces of my life rearranging into something unrecognizable. That's when the stranger made his first mistake. He moved, sitting up slightly, blinking in confusion. And in that moment, something in me snapped. I lunged before I even knew what I was doing. My fist connected with his jaw, the sound sickening, bone against bone. A sharp crack. He barely had time to react before I grabbed him by the throat and slammed him against the headboard. His head whipped back and the bed shook violently. My wife screamed, "John, stop." But I didn't, because the man in front of me wasn't just some random mistake. He was a choice, her choice, and now they were both going to face the consequences. I wasn't thinking clearly, or maybe I was thinking clearer than ever. My eyes flicked toward my work bag by the door. Inside, I had everything I needed, not for saving lives, but for something else. I let go of the bastard, let him slump back onto the bed groaning in pain. Then slowly I walked, unzipped my bag, and pulled out a syringe. The moment my wife saw it, her face went ghost white. "John, what are you doing?" she whispered. I turned back to them, holding up the needle, my voice calm. "This," I said, rolling the syringe between my fingers, "is a powerful neurotoxin." Her lover's eyes widened in pure terror. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching them squirm. "Here's how it works," I said slowly, deliberately. "Once injected, you have about 30 minutes before full paralysis sets in. Then your organs shut down one by one." My wife started shaking. Her lover let out a strangled noise. I smiled. "But don't worry," I said, reaching into my bag again and pulling out a small vial of clear liquid. "There's an antidote." Their eyes snapped to it. "Now," I said, setting the antidote on the nightstand between the wine glasses. "You're going to tell me the truth, everything." I reached for my phone, turned on the camera, and met their pale, trembling gazes. "Start talking." The room felt smaller now, hotter, the air thick with sweat and fear. Lisa sat frozen, her arms clutching the sheets around her like they could protect her. Matt sat against the headboard, one hand cupping his bleeding nose, his face twisted in pain. And me? I sat at the edge of the bed, syringe in hand, feeling my own pulse hammering in my ears. The rage was still there, burning, consuming. But now there was something else. Too. A question. How far am I really willing to go? I'd spent years fixing people, saving lives. Now, for the first time, I had complete control over whether someone lived or died. And the terrifying part? I didn't hate it. Start talking, I said. Neither of them moved. Lisa's lip trembled, but she didn't speak. Matt's eyes flicked between me and the syringe, his chest rising and falling in rapid panic. I sighed and tilted the needle slightly, letting a small drop of liquid drip onto the sheets. That made him choke out a sound. Okay. Please, just let me explain, he begged. I turned my head toward Lisa. She was still silent, her face pale, her knuckles white from gripping the sheets. Lisa, I said, my voice calm. Do you want to let your boyfriend take all the blame? Or are you fine and tell me the truth? She swallowed hard. John, she hesitated, her breathing shaky. I never wanted to hurt you. I laughed a bitter, hollow laugh. Really? Because you sure as hell didn't seem too worried about that a few minutes ago. Her eyes filled with tears, and yet I didn't feel a thing. How long? I asked. Lisa closed her eyes, her throat bobbing as she struggled to find the word she had been hiding. 6 months, she finally whispered. My jaw clenched. I had suspected something was off, but hearing it out loud made my chest ache in a way I hadn't known was possible. I turned to Matt. And you? I demanded. He hesitated, so I leaned in, pressing a syringe lightly against his bare skin. Not injecting. Not yet. Just enough to make him flinch. 6 months. I swear, he shouted. Why? I growled. Lee out a shaky breath. John, you were never home. She whispered. You care more about your job than me. That hit harder than I expected. I had braced myself for excuses, for blame, but not this. My fist clenched. So, your solution was to sleep with one of my coworkers. I shot back. Lisa flinched. I was lonely, John. Her voice cracked. I tried to talk to you. I tried to tell you. I felt like I didn't matter anymore. I stared at her. The anger didn't fade. But for the first time, I saw it, the doubt in her eyes. It was as if she didn't fully understand why she had done it. Like she had convinced herself it was a reason, but deep down she knew it was just an excuse. I turned back to Matt. And you? I asked. Was she just easy convenient? Matt's lips trembled. I don't know, man. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I swear. I exhaled slowly, the syringe heavy in my hand. For a moment, I imagined a needle piercing his skin, his body locking up, Lisa screaming, and me finally feeling some sense of justice. But then another thought crept in. One I hadn't anticipated. Would it even make me feel better? Would it erase the betrayal? Would it make me whole again? Or would it just turn me into someone else? Filled with regret, my fingers twitched around the syringe. Lisa's breath hitched. Matt let out a choke sob. And then I did the most terrifying thing of all. I smirked slowly. I lifted the syringe and in one swift motion, stabbed it into the mattress. Lisa gasped. Matt let out a panic cry. I pulled the needle out empty, then grabbed a small glass vial from a nightstand, the supposed antidote. Lisa stared at it, trembling. You can have this, I said, tossing onto bed between them. She caught it, her hands shaking violently. It's just sign, I said. Her eyes snapped up to mine, horror spreading across her face. There was never any poison, she whispered. Of course not. I finished for her, smirking. I'm a doctor, Lisa. I save lives. Lisa let out a strangled sob, her hands trembling. Matt looked like he was about to pass out. I grabbed my phone, stopped the recording, and stood up without another word. I walked out, leaving them there tied to my bed, drowning in their own fear and guilt. The house felt different now, quieter, not the peaceful quiet of Lisa, curled up on the couch, waiting for me to come home. This was a kind of silence that comes after destruction. A hollow, empty quiet that made me wonder what now. I had spent the last few hours consumed by rage, humiliation, and the need for revenge. But now that they were broken, trapped in the mess they had created, I had to ask myself, did I feel any better? I sat in the kitchen, gripping my phone, staring at the video I had just recorded. Lisa, crying, desperate, realized that her world was falling apart. Matt, pale, shaking, knowing his career, reputation, and life were in my hands. And me standing there watching him suffer. I should have felt satisfaction. I should have felt something. But instead, there was a strange, gnawing emptiness. Because no matter what I did, it wouldn't undo what they had done. I opened my messages and scrolled to a familiar name. Dr. Marcus Reed, Chief of Surgery. My boss. Matt's boss. A man with zero tolerance for unethical behavior. I hesitated. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about erasing Matt from my world completely. I hit send. The video disappeared into cyberspace. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. Marcus. Jesus Christ. John. Is this real? Me? Every second of it. Marcus. He's done. It was too easy, too fast, almost disappointing. But Matt had no idea. His life was already over. I walked back upstairs. Lisa was sitting on the edge of the bed now, her eyes red and swollen. Matt was still in shock, staring blankly at the floor. They both looked up when I stepped inside. John. Lisa's voice cracked. She started to stand, reaching for me as if there was still something left between us. I held up a hand. Don't, I said. She flinched. I can fix this, she whispered. I laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. You can't even fix yourself. Her lip quivered. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I tilted my head. How long, Lisa? She swallowed. Almost a year. A year. I had been killing myself at work, believing I was building a future for us, while she had been sneaking around, telling herself she had a reason. I let out a breath. Tell me, Lisa, was it worth it? She blinked, tears spilling over. No, but somehow it didn't feel like enough. The damage was already done. I walked over to the nightstand and picked up a single folder. Lisa stared at it, confused. What is that? She asked. Divorce papers? I said, setting them down in front of her already filed. Her breath hitched. You had these ready? I had them drafted an hour ago, I said. Her hands shook as she reached the papers. John, please. I don't want this. I let out a slow, tired breath. Lisa, you lost me a long time ago. She collapsed into silent sobs. I didn't stay to watch. I walked out of room, down the stairs, and opened the front door. Lisa followed moments later, still in her robe, still shaking. Matt trailed behind, barely able to look me in the eye. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorway. Time to go. Lisa hesitated. John, where am I supposed to go? I shrugged. Not my problem. Her face collapsed. She had burned every last bridge. Matt muttered something under his breath and stepped out first, barefoot, humiliated, walking straight into the cold night. Lisa lingered. She turned back, one last desperate look in her eyes. Do you really hate me now? She whispered. I stared at her for a long moment. Then finally, I spoke. I feel nothing for you anymore. That hurt her more than anything. And as she turned and walked out of my life forever, I didn't stop her. Not this time. Matt lost his job, his reputation, and his entire future. Lisa was left with nothing. No money, no home, no stability. I walked away with everything. And yet, as I sat alone in my house, staring at the quiet, empty space around me, I realized something. Revenge had given me justice, but it hadn't given me peace. And maybe it never would. John got his revenge, but at what cost? Was it worth it? Or did he lose a part of himself along the way? Was this revenge justified? Or did it go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take. And if you love jaw-dropping revenge stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash the like for more thrilling tales you won't want to miss. Every like, share, and subscription means the world to us. It helps us keep bringing you the stories you crave. Your support truly makes a difference. Thank you so much for being part of our community.